My name's Chris.
And I'm totally excited, but not as much as Laura was tonight on Junior Masterchef.
And she's also Kristie. This is the Washing Up Podcast, and you know who it is. You've read the title. Emeila Jackson!
Yay! Finally! Hi, guys.
How are you going? She's giving herself a Ben-like cheer squad there of herself, which is really good.
I was expecting fanfare, but...
We were low budget.
Look, I've got...
No clapping machine?
She is the old cantankerous one. I have been trying for years to get her to, be our background, a pause.
Oh, that's almost as bad a pun as somebody tried tonight on the show, Emeila.
I'm going to we'll start off by me saying they told me to say that.
Of course they did. I mean,
I'm just glad that you didn't think that was naturally me. That made me cringe.
Look, I'm just disappointed it's not naturally me. I'm a massive fan of puns. The worse they are, the more crowbarred they are in, the better.
Just to give you an idea, I was over making myself a coffee and looking over the kitchen counter to sort of watch what was going on. And I saw you lean into that pun, and all that was heard from the kitchen was me going, "Oh, Emeila."
You stooped so low.
There was a cringe. So first of all,
well done.
Before we get to the kids, before we get to MasterChef Junior, there's a little thing officially called Back to Win, but no one called it that, MasterChef to talk about. First of all, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that happened? It was a trophy.
Remember when that happened?
Days ago, before the plague.
Oh, it feels like years ago now.
So obviously a little bit of a whirlwind sort of tour of, media, etc.
Yeah. It wasn't as big, I think, as probably some other years because I went straight from filming to lockdown. Yeah. But the following day after the finale was massive. Like it was like a 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. on me just on radio all day. Which was really fun but exhausting. And then it kind of didn't stop from there. I'm giving myself November off. I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's a good move. I mean, the biggest disappointment for me, of course, is unable to take the Vespa for a spin. And
I know. Even when I looked like I was going to sit on that Vespa, I got yelled at.
But yet Jock gets on it and starts going around the
You obviously got a better contract.
Judge's privilege.
Yeah.
Just work on that next time, Emeila. When
I know.
back to win.
Yeah. Back to win.
back.
So God, I don't know if I could do that again.
So when we've sort of spoken to a few people about going back in there, obviously it was about motivation. So what was it that drew you literally back in there to go to back to win?
Well, it was kind of a funny one because I originally wasn't a part of it. I kind of ummed and ahed. Like we all got asked kind of in the middle of last year if we wanted to go back on. And I was umming and ahhing for a long time. And then it was kind of like, no, I'm going to give it a pass because filming was happening during like the peak season of my business, all of my wedding cakes and everything like that.
I was going to say that is cake season.
That's cake season, yeah, January to May. That's huge for us. And so I was like, nah, I'm going to give it a miss. And then I got a phone call in like late November by the talent manager who was like, someone's pulled out, we really want you in. And I was like, you know what, I'll do it. And I started filming like 3 weeks later.
I have to ask, was this talent manager also a mini Nostradamus that went, look, March to May is going to be a complete write-off. You may as well be on the telly.
Well, how lucky that I did it because I would have had nothing, like no income, nothing. So that was so lucky that I went on that show.
So I personally like to think you were sitting around waiting for the phone call from Australian Bake Off. Just going, come on, my time is coming. I want that cake platter.
I should apply for that next.
I want the cake platter. Well, that's next. We'll hook you up.
Yeah,
nice.
You've got the MasterChef trophy now for the cake plate.
The cake plate.
And then
I need it all. I need everything.
Yes.
Just gathering trophies around.
Yeah.
Dally M.
No. So obviously it ended up being a really interesting series because obviously you all went back in there, but with 3 new people standing up the front of it, I mean, well, one who's a very familiar face, obviously, to the kitchen in Andy, but having Andy as a judge with then Melissa and Jock, did that sort of make it more or less intriguing? Was there a sort of an interest level there in terms of, well, this could be fun, new judges?
It kind of made it more intriguing for me. I think what I was hesitating the most about was really the old judges. I just felt this sort of level of intimidation by kind of, going back 6 years into the past and reliving that experience. So knowing that there was 3 new judges made it a lot more of an easier decision for me.
Oh, that's good. You've got, a clean slate.
Yeah.
Impress.
Exactly.
And we talked about it before the series, and we talked about it a few times in the lead up, including we did a preview with Elena. And one of the things that we all said at the same time was one of the benefits of having 3 new judges is that, and not for any other reason than it's been on so long, the judges fall into a groove and everyone knows what the judges love.
It was very predictable.
Everyone knows if you want to stay in the first couple of weeks, you make crackling for Gary. Like, that's
100%.
And so having 3 new judges.
Dessert week. I've just made you a crackling cake with crackle on.
And so
he would love that.
Exactly. And
he would love that.
So the big benefit, obviously, of 3 new judges was it sort of threw that previous preset expectation out the window. You couldn't just rely on, well, we know what they're going to want. Because it was something brand new.
It was funny because that was really confusing for everyone at the start because everyone knew what the old judges loved. I mean, the format for a savoury was puree, well-cooked meat, a good sauce, and something crunchy. And so you would cook like that and you wouldn't get noticed by these new judges because they're probably, a lot more, I mean, they're just different. And it was an interesting learning curve for everyone.
Was it a lot of binge watching Chef's Line and, just checking out the past 5 years of Arana's menu? And
I was quite bad at the start. I think because I so never ever thought I was going to win the show, I just sort of saw it as a fun experience. So I was not studying or watching shows or anything. The turning point for me was when we had that Josh Nyland fish challenge and I came so close to getting eliminated. And then I was like, and by that stage, COVID was sort of rumbling. And I was like, oh God, I should probably take this a little bit more seriously. And that's when I started.
It might be important for my career.
Yeah. But at the start, I was just like, this is fun. I'm having fun. I'm living in a hotel with all these fun people getting drunk every night.
But I kind of feel like that was for me, the way that I viewed whenever I went in was that was the right way to take it. Because like if you went in there with this desperate sort of eye of the tiger, I'm here to conquer all of you attitude, you're not going to get the most out of going back in there. Whereas if you just go in there and go, this is fun, I'm hanging out with some people I sort of know, either know or sort of know.
Well, that was a big thing for me because I found the whole first time Series 6 so stressful and I took it so seriously and invested so much that, I was like truly heartbroken when I came third, and I was very conscious of not repeating that for myself.
The only one, Emeila.
There
were a few of us that were quite hard.
You really I have made no secret on this podcast before that the first time my heart was broken by MasterChef was you not winning.
Really?
It was the first one.
Mine too. But you know what? It feels sweeter 6 years later.
But it's also because the other benefit of the sort of back to win was everyone went away, and what you were getting was not sort of people who had been doing it for a little bit but wanted some more experience. You got people who had been vastly experienced but in different things.
Absolutely.
So they gone away, they'd become more well-rounded in a bunch of different things, but also perfected the things that they went on, and that was what they wanted to target. So you were getting a higher quality out of the gate.
Absolutely, I just, in season 6, I was so conscious of trying to be good at everything, and this time around I was like, no, I'm really good at baking, I'm just going to bake.
And I mean, that was what I actually thought was really fun from an audience perspective. And again, we do, apart from MasterChef, obviously we do all of the bake-offs, and so for us, having a bunch of bakers in there this time was really good fun.
Right.
There was a lot of bakers, weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Poe has become Poe has become like a cottage baker.
Yep.
That's what she does now.
Yep.
So, like with all of you in there, sort of baking stuff, it was just really cool to watch. And like I know that a lot of the audience that sort of came along with us from the Bake Offs were like, "Oh, we like all the baking ones."
Yeah. And how on trend was it? You know, you're coming in as a baker just when baking becomes everyone's, go-to.
Everyone's
I
hobby.
know. Baking is so huge now. So I think it was like the perfect storm for me.
We're going to look back in 10 years, and just go, this is when baking really
Took off.
Yeah.
When it was kind of like, like one thing would be cool, like when cupcakes were cool and then macarons were cool. But now it's just like baking is it.
Yeah. And the more obscure bake you can pop out.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah. If no one's ever heard of it before, fantastic.
If this is a Western Lithuanian, cake that's only celebrated on a specific, Saints Day.
Bake Off technicals have a lot to answer for.
If you can't knot the perfect babka, then get out of the kitchen.
if you don't know what a clafouti is, we can't cook. So it's all about, again, and again, don't even start us on from Canadian Bake Off, the infamous kransekake. So like again, but if you don't know what all these things are, can't help you. So obviously then you went in there and sort of the attitude was more one of let's go in there, have a bit of fun. And of course you were in there with a couple of people you knew very well, especially, obviously they played up the Meals and Laura sort of combo a fair bit. That must have been a hell of a lot of fun.
That was great. I also knew Reese because he was kind of a budding cake maker, so reached out to me. I just knew him via Instagram pretty much, and the fact that we're both on MasterChef. So that was really good to get to spend heaps of time with him. But everyone just came together as a group really seamlessly. I think the fact that we weren't living in a house together, we were in two-person apartments, it really helped.
I think, first of all, it removes the risk of somebody, breaking in at 6:00 in the morning to make you cook something in the kitchen.
Some random celebrity chef.
You walk in and go, oh, look, Nigella Lawson's standing over the top of me and now I need to cook risotto. It's very hard to gather everyone in the service department to go, come on, everybody, surprise. So, but it also takes... What I liked about not having the house, I mean, obviously with COVID,
for people who aren't so extroverted, the introverts actually got looked after.
Yeah,
that's I think of living in a house with that many people, I would go insane.
But the biggest concern for me about the house element of it was it sort of started to occasionally use it a little bit like a Big Brother sort of. Yeah, let's cross to the house and watch them all.
The dancing doona.
But more, I wasn't going dancing doona. I was going more making everybody pack up their bags.
All right.
But if you want to, I'm not going to cast aspersions.
We're not going there.
We're not casting aspersions. We're going to move on.
PG.
So, but
we'll have to talk about that on MasterChef Up Late.
Yeah, that's the Up Late. Wait for the Up Later version.
You should see the hot dogs hosting.
Oh no, hot dogs. So, and for the 4 people out there who get the hot dogs reference, you're welcome, Australia. So, in terms of but true, whenever they cut back to the house, you just got that long shot of somebody already in their whites but packing their bag. I'm like, why are you packing your bag in your whites? That's not very hygienic. Anyway,
you mean blacks?
No, well, yeah, in the blacks, my bad. And then, I don't care, they had the house for forever. And then you get the long looking out the window while they're driving through Melbourne, narrating their voiceover.
I
can't believe I'm cooking for my life.
Who did you take inspiration from for your voiceovers? Were you a bit of a, I don't know, the Wonder Years? Was it more Gossip Girl?
I don't know that I ever got a voiceover. Did I? I was such an awkward unit that they didn't ask me to do those types of things.
But this was something that the audience started to really love because it felt like there were some people who obviously had done a lot more media training. And by the way, that's not a knock before anyone jumps on us because media training is part of the business. But obviously there were some people who were very crisp media trained and then they'd get you to do something which was just naturally fun and funny. And the audience would go... Meals is just killing it. One line. There it is. Okay, it's done. This scene's over. Let's move on.
I just always forgot that I was mic'd up at all times. So I would be tearing shreds off someone from the gantry or I don't know, roasting Laura or something and they'd pick it up and use it.
that's closer to how people actually behave.
It is, yeah. But I think this comes with the new judges and kind of them getting, new judges and being able to reinvent the format a little bit and not take it all so seriously.
So did you get any sneaky snacks from the judges? I mean, we saw them having obvious snacks. I'm just wondering, did Jock just, set up a plate of cheese and bickies for everyone?
So the only snack we ever got from Jock was, did you watch that? I was about to say, what are they called? Masterclass, where Jock did this like death dish that was like
yes,
a million cheeses and 17 types of pig. He sent that back to the green room after we filmed that.
Ooh.
I had about a tablespoon and was sick for the entire day.
You're like, this feels like a horrible mistake.
Yeah, I was like, I regret everything.
But it's like the gantry, obviously, and this is something that a lot of people have reached out to us, and every time we talk to anyone from the show, they go, ask them how annoying the gantry is.
So annoying.
I know, and it's two things. One, first of all, when you're up on the gantry, and again, you always had to look up on the gantry like, they've asked me to say something. I'm not saying that. Yeah, and then there were other people, you can do this. So what's in your dish? And you can just see people looking up from the floor going, really?
Did you come
up? Yeah, will you shut up?
Yeah. But the things that you genuinely wanted to know that you got to ask. But
so it could be incredibly boring because sometimes you're up there for like 3 or 4 hours. But I actually kind of enjoyed it because I went in and I was just wildly intimidated by everyone around me. Like so many of these people were running restaurants and like had been chefing for 5+ years, and I'm just a cake maker. And so I was so intimidating. So I kind of used it as my opportunity to like watch people and like that gave me confidence because I'd watch them and I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Or like, that's interesting, or you know what I mean? And that kind of gave me confidence. So I kind of tried to use it as like a bit of it's more of a strategic time for me to like gain my confidence throughout the series.
But it's one of those things.
Fantastic.
It's one of those things too. I do that a lot when I'm talking to people about, early practice with teaching. And the first thing whenever I'm talking to them about that, I'm like, go and see the really good teachers. Mm-hmm. But also, occasionally go and watch some lessons that aren't going well. Yeah. Because you're going to learn a hell of a lot more from sitting there and going, wouldn't do that, or that's not working. And you sit there and you go, okay, if I'm in that, what would I do? And you'll learn a hell of a lot more from that. So that's the same,
exactly.
I did that as a pracky as a nurse, and it was my first actual hospital prac, not like in an aged care home. No disrespect to aged care homes, just, it's a different environment when you're in an actual hospital. And I went with a very old, jaded nurse, and there's a beautiful, it's Rasheen, I can't remember her name, but there's a nurse comedian who talks about the orcas and the dolphins.
Connery.
I was a dolphin for sure, and this woman was an orca. And we walked into this person, and she's talking to this person like she's 2 years old, going, and then you take the eye drops and you put them in like this. Anyway, she waddles off, and I'm there talking to the woman. She's like, yeah, I've been an RN for about 15 years. I think I've got this sorted. You just take that moment just to get to know them.
Learn what you can from that.
Yes.
So we'll talk a little bit about a couple of the dishes, and then we'll move on to talk about Junior Masterchef, because what a ray of light that's been at the moment. But before we get into that, a couple of things. So first of all, again, the baking community side of things, and especially the bake-off community, would kill me if I didn't mention the Bomb Alaska. Now, a cursed dish on Bake Off.
Really?
It's horrendously cursed. It appears on Bake Off usually when someone goes, I'm just going to attempt to bomb Alaska, and disaster is just befalls everybody around it. It's like
and don't forget the massive controversy in Great British Bake Off with the whole Bomb Alaska not being up to their standards, so the guy just chucked it in the bin.
Yes.
I'm not doing this.
Not doing that.
You know.
So, Bomb Alaska. Obviously, they're not aware of the Bake Off controversy, but I don't know. I've never really understood. I've never really got a Bomb Alaska, to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of them.
Make it positive.
I'm going to make hers positive because I'm not finished yet.
You're just sitting here bagging up Bomb Alaskas to a woman who went on to a show and made one.
What made yours so good? There you go.
Well, I think they're pretty good because they're just like ice cream with good things on them. What do you like about a Bomb Alaska?
I mean, it could be the last one that we had that was set so solidly that it nearly broke me in half.
No, that's no good.
There was a really good video on the Instagram. We went to one of the night markets and
back in the olden days
when you could go to night markets and and there was a Bomb Alaska and it looked amazingly good. And like, there's a video of me like smashing my face into it and eating it and coming up with like a face full of the marshmallow stuff.
But let's talk about Emeila's.
But it's just about why I don't like it.
Why you don't like it.
But we then didn't eat the rest of it because we sat there for, it must have been a good 45 minutes trying to get into the middle of the Bomb Alaska. And
like it'd been frozen for like 3 years.
I reckon it had been pre-frozen and then just, something had been happening on the outside.
And probably in a blast chiller as well. So it was never defrosting.
No.
You would have come back the next day and it was still solid.
Yeah, we could have left it sitting there, gone for a walk around the markets, come back, it still would have been frozen solid. It made a clunking sound when it went into the bin.
It was probably just a glacier.
Well, before that challenge, I'd never eaten a Bomb Alaska or made a Bomb Alaska before, so I had no idea what to expect, but it was pretty delicious. I might make it again.
There you go. Inspiration.
And it's probably a lot better fresh, like profiteroles, you don't...
Yeah, like fresh ice cream straight out of the churner is the best thing ever. So put some meringue and a sponge with it and it's the best.
Yeah, don't pre-freeze it for 9.5 years.
Exactly, yeah.
But speaking of choux...
Could you incorporate choux into a Bomb Alaska? Like, could you like do a choux layer and then put meringue on? Or is it... I just don't know how it would stick.
You could do like a shaped choux, like that compressed choux, and then you could fill that with the ice cream and then cover it with the meringue.
And that's a perfect segue because I wanted to
Or you could just leave the meringue off and call it like an ice cream sandwich.
Oh, I'm so there for this.
Ben's back at the ice cream sandwich. Okay. Anyway, but the compressed, so obviously the compressed choux sort of...
Wow.
Yeah. The compressed choux was really interesting too, because it was one of those ones where when you started talking about it, there was a big ooh, but I'm not quite sure how well it will translate to TV. The answer was brilliantly. So that was fun.
Yeah, that was a goodie. That was supposed to be my grand final dessert. So
wow.
Yeah, but I thought, look, I'm not going to get to make it in the grand final if I don't get into the grand final. So I should just make it.
Like, let's just make it, and if I make it to the grand final, I'll make it out. I'm sure I can cook something or other.
Look, at least then you can walk away and go, look, I got to the top 2 this time. And then when you're back to win, you might get to top 1, but you didn't need to because you just
exactly.
Yeah.
So how complex is the compressed choux to get right?
I think what makes it so challenging is, you add a quarter of a teaspoon of too much choux pastry and it explodes everywhere, or you add not enough and it doesn't fill the cavity, and because you can't check it for a good 40 minutes, you've got no idea of what's actually going on in there. So in terms of what it's made of, it's just a basic choux pastry. And yeah, it's just the sort of risk of the unknown, and especially in MasterChef because you have to bake it in these perforated tart rings, and they only had 2 of them on set. So I had 2 in the oven, and that was like I had no other backup plans.
Wow. And had you made it before, like, or was this just a...
I'd only made it in... So we basically, without ruining the magic of television, we got told it maybe top 7 or something, finales coming up for 2 people. So you need to work on menus. So obviously I'd come up with that as my dessert, so I'd been practicing it. I think I made it for the first time the weekend before that episode.
Wow. That's really cool.
I love that sort of like, I'm gonna make it the weekend before. Have a go. We'll see what happens.
It's my study thing, kind of like night before, just it's like cramming it in.
It's like whenever you hear anyone on the show where they've gone, I've only done it once, didn't work. I'm
going to do it again.
I'll have another go now live on like television with people filming it and ready for me to fail, and there's a music cue waiting for me to fail.
Hold on. Speaking of which, like, have you worked through like the choux incident? Like, have you the
pumpkin challenge?
Yeah. Just
I think what I did wrong was I can't quite. It was just so liquidy. I think what happened was I was planning to maybe half the batter to make half of it, but I didn't halve the liquid.
Oh.
So I think I just halved the flour. So then when I was trying to bring it together, I was like, this is very wrong.
I have invented a new kind
but it's a
of
good
shoe.
thing that
It's a
happened
thong.
because that next elimination that I was in was where I made the Paris breast,
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was amazing.
which was like one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, and it was it's really funny too in terms of so when you're looking at that idea of the balance out of the flavors and trying to make it not be so runny, and cut to tonight and Georgia and
Just nailing it.
she's like no, I'm talking about Georgia
Laura.
with I was talking about Georgia with the cream going.
Oh, Georgie,
you know what?
Yeah.
This is not going well, but bugger it, I'm just going to finish it. I don't have time to get the right cream.
But how good are kids for that reason?
I know, and this is something that, I mean, obviously, being there, you've seen firsthand. We commented the other week, they've got zero fear. So whereas on your series and all the other series, whenever they get to an elimination, there's a lot of, I'm going to play it a bit safe here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do something that's very sound. And the kids are just like, I'm going to do something weird because it's fun and I want to cook it.
Yeah,
And
I know, it's amazing.
They're not scared. They're just like, let's make something.
I was just so impressed that, when I was sort of 10, I couldn't even talk to another adult.
Yes.
I would like whisper in my mum's ear to ask someone if I could have a drink. So I was just so impressed that they were up there articulating themselves and, cooking under that pressure. But I suppose, you're right. They just didn't feel the fear the way that adults do.
Well, I mean, you commented before, Kristie, when you were watching it, when I think Georgia was talking about
her favourite ingredient to cook with. I'm like, at that age, I was just talking about my favourite, actor that I had a crush on, just Edward Furlong posters everywhere.
You didn't have a favourite ingredient.
No.
and things like phrases we've heard a lot of, I've mentioned it a few times so far in the last couple of weeks, phrases you would never hear out of a child's mouth, like, I really need some more finger limes. Or the balance of the flavor. Don't forget to balance your flavors. It's just phrases like that you're not expecting out of like an 11-year-old.
It just shows what Masterchef's done to our society, doesn't it?
It's
absolutely, like, I think all of the how can I put it, like the role modeling that has been on Masterchef for every age group, every socioeconomic, like just Australia's diversity in general. Like there's always some form of role model on there that opens a door for someone. And I think tonight what I felt the most was seeing you walk in and having young women like Laura, and you could see Tiffany and Vienna just going, oh my God, it's Emeila, and getting so excited over that. And I'm like, this is exactly what, because then there's other people watching and seeing those three, act confident and just be their authentic selves. So it's this beautiful roll-on effect. So I just want to thank you for going out there and providing this for so many people who, will benefit in years to come.
Oh, thank you.
It's been, because like we've talked a lot about the fact that, Laura has sounded so very mature for her age, and they cut to you walking in and they cut to her voiceover, and it's the first time all series she's just sounded like a giddy tween,
11-year-old,
where she's just like, oh my God,
Did you respond to that? Did you feel that as you came in, or
I was blown away. I mean, I could hear them screaming. I was standing outside when they did that intro, and I could hear them screaming. And I think we'd not filmed. I think the finale had aired, 2 or 3 days before we filmed that episode.
Yeah.
So it was all still very fresh for me. And when they were screaming when I walked in, I was just like, what is going on here?
You're looking around going, is Katy Perry back?
You're like,
I know.
Are they going to be very disappointed when I walk in and they're expecting like Kirsten Tibbles or
I know. But it was amazing. It was really incredible to have that experience of that for me.
So two, before we get into a bit more about the actual episode itself, two questions. First of all, how does it feel to prepare to judge children? and secondly, how does it feel when you're tasting the dishes and thinking to yourself, if I say something that's, not particularly good, I could be evil and hated by everyone because I'm crushing a child's dreams.
I was so nervous about it because I didn't want to make anyone cry. That was my biggest fear, that I was going to not even say something mean, but just look at someone and make them cry.
But Andy's gotten stronger, so it's all good. Andy's gotten a lot stronger. But no, I thought that it was lovely to sort of watch, and the positivity in there in general it's infectious.
Yeah. I think I think the judges are doing, even Andy, for all the flack he's copped. I think they're doing such a great job of bringing this really great positive vibe to the whole thing.
Absolutely. And we have been critical of Andy in the adult version. But in this version,
which we said before the series, we thought he'd be great,
killing it. And I honestly feel like this has given him the best playground, so that next season we're going to get the Andy that we all know and
he can be Andy.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it takes anyone to, everyone needs their little time to warm up to a role in any job that you do. And I really loved Andy. I thought he was great.
And I've really enjoyed watching, and you sort of see it a lot more. Jock's warmed more and more to it with the weeks, and he's got a couple of little dynamic routines going with a couple of them.
Jock is such a big softie.
Oh, he's got this beautiful back and forth with a couple. Him and Philo. I mean,
tonight with the lobster.
With the lobster, you're making more lobster again, Philo. You're making more lobster again.
Yeah.
That's just that little back and forth dynamic. And we've said in previous episodes that Jock on the gantry with Georgia could be an entire series.
Yeah.
Just those two commenting on food.
I wanted to know, when you went in and you're watching these kids get in there and cook, what were the similarities and maybe some of the differences, apart from, the boxes they need to stand on to reach the bench, between them and the adults that you've seen in the kitchen?
I just think the biggest difference, I know we already spoke about it, was just their complete lack of fear. Every time I cooked in that kitchen, I would overthink absolutely everything, second guess every decision I was making, and there was just none of that for the kids. They were just able to work out what they wanted to make and make it, and not question themselves at all. Not question, is this good or bad? Is it, question any of it. It was great.
I think one of the things I loved watching tonight is seeing another layer of Dev be revealed, in terms of he's created these big bold dishes before, and suddenly he's like, oh yeah, and I love making desserts, and I'm going to make this because why not? Emelia's
how good was that?
Oh, it was sensational. Watching the technique and the way, especially at their age, but in general, forget even age, take age out of it.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Knowing all of the techniques that they know and they understand. And Dev going, all right, so I've got to make the spheres. I'm going to make the inner, and it needs to do the right level of gooiness when I do it. So I've got to set it.
I need to nail all these timings, and it can't all just be random. It's just amazing.
A million different
I've got
things.
75 minutes just to pull this amazing,
That dessert of Dev's was so good. That chocolate mousse that he made was absolutely flawless, incredible.
So we're going to get a tub of Ben's ice cream.
Oh, that ice cream was so good. I'm actually going to go into Template and see if the recipe's up there, because it was he grated the strawberries and folded them through the ice cream, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone do before. But it just made it taste like fresh strawberry. It was just incredible.
So we're mixing that with the mousse.
Yeah.
I think there's a few profiteroles added to it. We'll just take different bits from all of the kids and just make this a Franken dessert.
Franken shake.
By the way, for the record,
Yeah.
Ben's ice cream sandwich is on Template.
Oh,
So
perfect.
the recipe for his ice cream is there if you want it.
I hope he wrote that ice cream down right, because I want to make that ice
You're
cream.
like, I want to make that ice cream.
Look, just putting him in the pantry at the beginning, essentially you need to get all the strawberries available at that moment in time.
Yeah, it's like, I need all of these. I love... it's the way they all approach it too, which is so different. So like you had Philo being very Philo, going in and just standing there. I don't know. There's so many things. And of course, Philo was the one who hit upon the technique of, well, if I had immunity, you know, what, I'm just going to eat everything. And then Ben was the one who developed that theory out and went, well, if you've got immunity, just go into the pantry, eat everything for the whole challenge. And just when they go to plate up, hit the gong and run upstairs.
Yeah.
So they're thinking bolder than anyone else is.
Yeah, strategy.
I know. And the other one that I've really so far just sort of warmed to is Vienna.
I loved Vienna.
She's
She
incredible.
is such
She's
a
incredible.
sweetheart.
That, look, again, I was torn because obviously there was a dome and I rail against far too many domes.
No, I forgive children using dome mold. Do you know why? Because when I was that age, the only mold I probably knew was like when you did the little icy poles, like the make at home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's probably the only mold I was using, or the ice cube tray.
I mean, it's a weird form of dome mold, but we'll take it. It's technically a dome mold if you really want to get into it.
That's what I'm saying. Is like,
yeah, but
she's tempering chocolate and making mousse.
But my problem is that I'm not necessarily viewing them as children cooking because of the technique.
Yes.
So I'm like, she's amazing. I love everything she does, but there's a dome. But it's amazing. But there's a dome. Look, there was no.
But she's only 10. But there's a dome.
But there's no matcha. There was no matcha, so I was
no
okay.
yuzu.
And no yuzu, no matcha. We're sweet.
Yeah.
Although again, I will eat yuzu because I like.
You really need trigger warnings to come up on MasterChef when certain things are.
More matcha is my warning. Matcha sets me off every time.
Matcha is your kryptonite.
It is.
Yeah, it's
green
not my fave.
And green too, so it's perfect. But no, watching the way, again, Vienna had her sort of giddy moment at the start when you came in, and then she just has this like hardwired switch where she's just so ultra focused and professional, and just churning this, and like that's just incredible. But there's a joy to it, like, and that's the thing. They all cook with such joy. There's technique aplenty. They know their stuff, but they're having so much fun with it.
Yes.
Imagine having that experience as a kid as well. Like, imagine watching MasterChef for your entire life. And then loving cooking and being really good at it, and then having the opportunity to go on there.
Oh,
you know, it would just be incredible.
Yeah, I think it would just how can I put it? It would be a seminal moment in your life. Like, this is something that's going to shape them, and I think
absolutely
something that I've loved is you can see how much care and thoughtfulness has gone into the production in making sure that these, you know, young people are supported to engage in a safe way.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the judges that enabled that. I mean, the entire crew worked so beautifully with those kids. You know, all the story producers and everyone were just obsessed with them. So the whole production really came together to create something quite beautiful.
It's really heartwarming to watch. And again, subtle. We've talked a bit about some of the subtle changes, things like the bicycle in place of the Vespa, little changes like that. But just also the way that, and I commented on it on Twitter. I'm like, the poor music cue person must have been so confused because even when they go with something that is, this was really good, but this could have done with a bit of improving, there's no negative music cue.
Yeah, it's still light and fairies and
loving.
And
the poor music cue person's going, no, but I've got the sting. It's the bum 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 bum.
But the music person is lucky because the Bachelor and Bachelorette have been on. So
and that's all negative.
Yeah, so they've been able to get that out.
Nobody knows those shows have been on, to be fair. Nobody knows Bachelorette's been on because ratings are something else. Anyway, really bad. So, but I don't know, what was your, just from being in there, was there anything that sort of caught your eye in particular about like any of those dishes, or was it just the kids in general?
I just loved all the kids in general. They were so beautiful. But, you know, I really loved little George's dish, the deconstructed lemon tart that she did. I don't think that was like conveyed how good that was as a dessert. I was worried that we're going to get, you know, 9 really sweet desserts, but they were also beautifully balanced. And that little sort of trifly deconstructed tart, you know, even with her cooking cream in it, was so beautiful to eat. I would make that for Christmas Day, you know. I was shocked by that.
She's got, one of the things we've seen with a lot of Georgia is, and Mel's commented a lot on it, is that her subtlety of flavour they said, and the way that she understands how flavors work.
Yeah, and that's
Especially-
really rare for a child because their taste buds are just, so much different to adult taste buds. And for her to be able to create dishes like that is just incredible.
Yeah, like that is kudos to her parents who have obviously given her opportunities to explore the culinary delights of the world.
Yeah,
Particularly lemon.
absolutely.
Particularly lemons, her favorite.
And they probably let her make a massive mess in their kitchen and then clean it up.
So outside, obviously, of the wonderful bubble that is MasterChef, what's been happening in Emeila world in terms of cake orders? Because I know you've had a lot of cake orders.
Yes.
So as we're approaching another cake season,
God help me. So straight or at the finale or the week before, I launched a packet mix of financiers. So in the finale dessert, I made financiers as a part of the dessert, which are kind of like a dense almond. They're actually traditionally a cookie, but if you bake them a bit differently, they can be a bit cakey as well. So I launched that packet mix with no expectations whatsoever, and then pretty much spent the next 2 months like chasing my tail trying to make that actually happen because I completely underestimated how many I would sell.
No, that was when I the first time, just for people at home, the first time I reached out to you about the podcast, you were like 100% yes, but I'm absolutely flat out with cake mixes.
Yeah. And it wasn't a lie. I spent like 2 months just trying to get through that. And because I underestimated how many I would sell, I underestimated everything. Like I didn't have enough bags. I didn't have enough labels. It was just an incredible learning curve.
It's the curse and the blessing of COVID.
Yeah, it was great timing because of COVID. And then I got really good feedback on those. So they're just sort of now plugging along really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually stocked in Dubai and Singapore, which is interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Dubai has the Masterchef restaurant, doesn't it?
Yep.
So
they love Dubai. They love Masterchef in Dubai.
Good.
And then I started doing what I'm calling my Friday feels. So just sending a little bit of happiness around Melbourne in lockdown.
Oh.
And I started doing cakes, but then I kind of pivoted and gave the people what they want, which was shoe buns.
Give the people what they want.
Give them what they want.
I know that zeitgeist.
And so I've been sold out of those for 6 weeks. So this week is my last week for a little bit while I come up with some Christmas products, and then we'll go from there.
Donuts in honor of Donut Day, or
Santa shoe.
Santa shoe.
I'm not that good at making donuts. I feel like the best donuts are bought.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that one.
So with my nephew, like the kids did, like I went to reach out to my niece and nephew. He's 3, she's 8, just about donuts because they love them. And I was basically told, no, we don't want any of those fancy flavors. We just like pink.
Oh yeah, everyone likes pink, don't they?
It's like
I just like original glazed.
I'm a bandit for strawberry, like a raspberry jam donut.
Oh yeah, that's true. I like that too.
No, as I said the other week, it's fresh cinnamon, and it has to be absolutely fresh cinnamon,
straight out
piping hot.
Yeah, if they're not that soft, sort of, cinnamon on it, they then get stale and a bit bready. And no, I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
But absolutely fresh, and it is. I will actually do that where someone will go donuts, and I'll look at them and go, "Oh yes, please," and you grab one and you go, "That's cakey. I already know."
Yeah,
this
that's not donut. That's just bread with icing on it.
Yeah, this is a mistake. This is cinnamon bread. And
but don't knock cinnamon bread, because when you're a uni student and you're povo and you're looking for a cheap dessert, sugar and cinnamon mixed together on buttered toast is pretty darn awesome.
That sounds really good.
It is. It was. My mind was blown. I got to visit a friend at one of the university colleges because I was povo and had no money. She's like, no, they've got free bread and we can make donut bread. And I'm like, what? And so they snuck me into the college because technically you have to be living there to go in. And I got to experience it. It was...
I'm going to make it tomorrow.
Yes.
That's the thing. Now, before we sort of get to the point of wrapping up, one thing we forgot to mention, of course, was that you got to have a bunch of the trick boxes when you went in there. You know, it's usually a Tibble or someone like that gets the, look, it's all made of chocolate. You got to have boxes made of cake.
I know.
How fancy.
How good was that? They look so good. I wish I could take the credit and say that I made them, but I didn't.
Pretend. No one knows.
That's what I wanted to know is they looked fantastic, and whoever created those needs a bloody award. Like
Sweet bakes.
Sweet
She's
bakes.
amazing.
I was really enjoying watching because it was funny because they got to the first part of the challenge bit and they're like, oh, look at all the flavors. And then as they're trying to explain what the challenge is, half of the people in there no longer cared because they were like arm deep inside this box. And
did you see Philo? He was honestly covered from head to
Philo
toe.
has like a whole sheet out going,
yeah.
We'll put that sheet over there. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Tiffany's like, I'm just finding all the flavors in the middle at the moment. Give me a second.
She was a cake archaeologist.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Philo has come up with new ways to eat food that I have never thought of.
He is hilarious.
I am here for him.
The way he was smashing those olives in that blind tasting. Oh, I love that.
Someone, can't remember who it was, so apologies if it was you on Twitter, but someone last week said that Philo is a 46-year-old man sitting on the curb outside a restaurant in Melbourne with a coffee in hand, just drinking and watching people walk past.
Yes.
That's
he
Philo.
is. He is 100%. And he's got some worry beads in his hand.
And last week talking about drinking long blacks, and I'm like, oh, I know where this goes. I'm a long black drinker, Philo, so watch out. But just like he's come up with again new methods of like no one really when you do the tasting challenge, people don't tend to stand there and like eat the challenge. Philo's like, I know what this is, but I'm just going to keep grabbing handfuls of it until you make me
Turkish delight. He ate 5 pieces of Turkish delight. I was like, come on, your throat has to be burning.
And before they walk away, he grabs a handful of stuff
I know.
and walks back to the line smiling and eating. It's like you are living your best life in that kitchen.
Oh, he is.
I'm here for it. It's
me too.
amazingly wonderful.
Look, I really hope, Amelia, if people are reaching out to you going, oh, I'm thinking of auditioning for Masterchef, what should I be doing to not bar up? What's that thing called when you
to cram
to learn what they should be doing? Are you going to be saying like watch Junior and pay attention to Philo and to Ben? And
be Ben or be Philo.
Sheer joy of Ben. His emotion, as we said the other week, if I'm a producer and I saw Ben walk through the door, I'm doing cartwheels.
I know. Where did that child come from? He is heaven.
His fist pump. And like it was like the moment when they were all standing there for the judging and just watching him stand there, and it was clearly going to be him, but he's like hunched forward, leaning into it, like arms out, so expectant, like, oh, could this be? And like the sheer joy that he burst into when it's him, and you're like, oh my God, child, you're amazing.
I know, he's amazing.
So much sweetness and light. As are you. Now, we've had, legitimately, we have been bombarded with messages from people going, when are you having Emeila on? When are you having Emeila on? When are you having Emeila on? It was the most requested thing all the way through the last series. It was the most requested thing since that series has ended.
And that was just me, really?
It was just
texting
you.
every day.
Yeah, you're like texting me. I'm like, we were in the same house when like next to each other. We can do this. Just ask me. You're like, no, direct message on Twitter. So, but absolute delight to finally get you onto the show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute delight back at you.
Oh, anytime at all that you want to come on. Anything that you would like to plug before we finish up?
I think I've plugged.
You can do anything else. Like selling stuff. I usually have to convince people to keep selling.
I'm not the only person who goes, oh.
Last one, I had to keep reminding Elena the other day, keep selling more stuff.
You've got a podcast coming out, remember?
It's so hard. It's so hard to turn on that sales aspect of yourself.
Yes. That's okay. There's anything
Don't you think?
Yeah, it is, because you just want to sort of have a fun chat instead.
Yeah.
We'll just put some links up to your tweet.
Yeah. If you want to get my packet mixes, you can head over to my website. But shoe buns are sold out for the minute, so keep an eye on my Instagram for when the next round of those will be popping up.
Yes.
Because I get lots of emails saying like, I missed out again. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Or maybe if you spent more time ordering and less time just sending an email saying you missed out,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened. So
Exactly.
thank you, Emeila, for coming on. Absolute delight to have you on. Until next week.
Yes.
I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we'll catch you all later. Bye.